Jalen, what's the transition been?
Playing football in the SEC. I mean, how have things been a little bit different here?
I would say overall just team camaraderie. Everybody wants to see everybody win. I think we have a great locker room. Everybody's, wanting to see the best out of everybody. Everybody pushing each other. And I say just, overall just a family and team atmosphere.
Where all they got you working at?
Just Mike and, a little bit of Dom overall, just trying to stack days, the best I can and just, and definitely encourage everybody just to do their part. And, I'm doing my part, of course, and that's just the biggest thing, playing as a team and playing as, a whole brotherhood. So,
You played against this team last year, obviously. What's different this year? Obviously, a lot of new guys, including yourself, but what stands out to you about being different from what the team you saw last year?
Overall, I watched a lot of film, and just overall, obviously, we're playing a lot faster. A lot more trust in the team. I would say, everybody's trusting each other and one another to do their job and do their part. Coach Hutz talks about it. Do your 111th. Your 111th is you doing your job on every play, and that's all you can do.
Along those lines, too, I mean, there's some guys that are returning and some new guys coming in, with you. But what the guys that were here when you got here and returning, what did they kind of tell you about the defense, and what was kind of your reception from them?
They just told me, they're going to come to work. If I come to work with them, they're going to accept me, and that's all I did. Just came to work with them boys and, made sure I did my part, like I said before. Just came and worked with them every day and was able to, earn their trust on and off the field as, somebody that can speak up and, hold you accountable. But overall, they just said they don't come in day out and work their, work their butt off, and, that's what we've been doing.
What are some of the differences maybe in this defense compared to the defense you were playing at Tennessee?
I played a lot of good defense before, but, this defense is just, it's a little different, as far as, just overall, like I said, just the brotherhood of the defense. Of course, we have some great pieces. We have a lot of great, players, a lot of great speed, a lot of great talent, a lot of great physicality with, just everybody is from back end to front end, linebackers and everybody. So I think that's a lot of big difference.
Who's some guys in that linebacker group that's caught your attention in camp so far?
I would say everybody. Everybody's doing their part, and everybody's working very hard to, earn a spot, and you're just able to earn the right to be out there on the field. Whether it's special teams, defense, everybody's trying to go out there and win a spot and earn a job. And I think that everybody in the linebacker room just wants to be great. Everybody wants to do their part and do their job and be able to go out there and play.
What about the other side of the ball?
Oh, man, other side of the ball, boy, we got a lot of talent on that side, too. On that side of the ball, it's a lot of talent as well, from receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, O-line, tight ends. It's a lot of great talent, and, it's fun to go against them guys every day. It's able to push me and make me a better player each and every day. I feel like, I've been able to, become a better person, on and off the field, just being around them, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's one of the things I would say.
Social media, we see a lot of the highlights, people being kind of hyped and things like that. How would you describe maybe the atmosphere in practice all the time?
All the time, I think it's great energy just from being on the practice field, meeting rooms, weight room. I think everybody kind of holds that same standard of bringing energy wherever you go, being where your feet are, bringing that energy, in the weight room, just working hard. In the meeting room, Coach Hutz is always firing us up, in the meeting rooms, we always dance and laugh and just having a fun time because football is fun at the end of the day, it's a job, but it's fun at the end of the day, you gotta have that fun for sure.
Was there anything about facing this team last year with Tennessee that kind of stuck out to you when the recruiting process began and they were interested?
I'd definitely say, they're going to fight. They're going to fight to the end. They're going to have some dogs. They're going to talk crazy. They're going to talk some junk. They're going to try and get your head. But at the end of the day, they're going to bring that fight to you. Ain't nobody going to back down. And, I want to be a part of that because I feel like that's what I'm going to bring too. I'm going to go out there and fight with you. I'm going to go out there and scrap to the last second, once it hits 0-0. But after that, I'm going to fight, though, for sure.
And Vaughn Booth had a pretty big game against Tennessee. Has he talked at all about that since you got here?
Not really. I think, just me coming here, of course he talked a little crazy, but, overall, we were just able to laugh, talk about it, move past because, at this point I'm here now. So, it's just all I'm for with this team and, being a Bulldog is, all I care about.
But did Fluff hit you or something today? Or?
Oh man, Flo talking. I could have got him if I wanted to. We're gonna say that for another day and for somebody else, a different opponent. But definitely, Fluff is definitely one of those guys. For sure. Yeah, everybody with some dogs for sure.